thank you. How are you doing? Oh, Richard, no, come, please. Please, Richard, sit. Oh, thank you all. It's good. I'm glad you clapped because I was going to leave. Thank you all very, very much. This is Pole to Pole was life changing. Like it was, some of the things that we experienced out there. We'll dive in. My humble, powerful guide and friend, Richard Parks, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Will. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Will, you've completely ruined my intro.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. You had something. Okay,
I was
sorry.
supposed to come in first and introduce you. And it's just
No, go. Sorry, do it. No, what were you going to say?
I'm not leaving you now.
You were going to come out first, and I was supposed to follow, and I messed it up. Sorry. I saw a crowd and got excited. They were clapping. I'm sorry. Go.
Well, oh, wow. Do you know what? We're so excited backstage. Everyone involved in this project is so proud of it. I mean, listen, for Will to call me a friend is really special. And what you saw on stage, what you saw on screen, was absolutely real. And if you have a chance, or when you watch the remaining 6 episodes, they're equally as real. What?
You got to introduce me.
Yeah, well, I'm through. I'm all at 6 now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Will Smith. Will Smith. No, but we Richard, sorry. No, I'm very excited. So the first episode was the one you just saw, and Richard was, when I embarked upon Pole to Pole, I had no idea, what it was going to be like. And as you saw, my mentor, Dr. Alan Counter, has suggested that the way to cultivate a mind and to cultivate an experience as a human, to be able to live humbly and harmoniously in this place, is to get out at the edges and discover the things that you don't know, and to allow the fear and the difficulty to forge your mind. So that was a big part of what I was trying to do. And Richard was one of the first people that came on to the show to say, yes, I would love to do that. And we got out there at the edges, and some of the things I learned about myself. I learned about what it means to be human, and what I learned about our planet. I'm very excited to discuss some of that with you.
I thought you were awesome, really, really awesome. So this was the 3rd series that you've done with National Geographic. Was it Dr. Counter that compelled you to kind of come back, to put yourself back out there for this project particularly?
So with the first project, I was only in studio. And Darren Aronofsky called me, and we had spent time together, and he knew that I love science, and if I hadn't become an entertainer, I would have been in some realm of science. I've always had an explorer and a physicist hidden in me that never got fed. So I was in studio only for what was the first one called? The planet, One Strange Rock. One Strange Rock was the first one. So I was only in studio, and I saw one of those things, and I was like, "You're kidding, right? That you went and did all this stuff, and then had me sit in the studio and talk about it." And then Welcome to Earth, I got out a little more. And then in order to do a third one, I was like, I have to be in the places. I want to be the audience. I want my hands on an anaconda. I want, part of what you can see in the show is I don't know exactly what the adventures are. So that was the thing. I said, nope, I want to find out on camera. Right? So when you're seeing me react, I'm hearing, I know it's the South Pole, but I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what the episode is about. And I want to find out on camera because I just feel like it gives such, when you're looking at my face, you could tell. He was like, yeah, he's a good actor, but he's not that good. So as a part of the experience, I wanted to be able to emotionally take people to these places and to these experiences. And there was some sketchy days out there. We had a couple sketchy days.
Yeah, there absolutely was. I mean, the ice climb, that was real. The amount of people that have kind of asked me, was that really real? Did Will really do that? 100%. It was, like a lot of us didn't think that you were going to get up there.
Yeah, a lot of us, me too. All right, man, I'm gonna go down to the bottom. Y'all can just come back there. But no, with those things, I think fear is like the biggest punisher of a life. When you're scared, it is just, you can't do anything with this life. You're scared, you can't love, you can't go for your dreams, you can't, fear, I think, is the greatest enemy to being able to build a life that we love. So for me, fear is a practice, and that was a big part of this. I wanted to be scared. I wanted to be out on the edge. I wanted to be in that place where I could see, what I would be able to get my head around and to settle down and to find my inner Jedi warrior to be able to keep going. But they didn't know the movie star rules out there. Nat Geo doesn't know the movie star rules.
I didn't.
Yeah, Disney Plus, because I was like, no. I'm supposed to say, yes, I'll do it. And then somebody's supposed to say, no, Will, legally, you can't do that. Right? So I would walk up, what y'all talking about? Oh, the ice? Yeah, I'll do that. And then they're like, oh, okay, we'll say you do it, guys, let's go. I was like, where the hell is my no person? I usually travel with no people. But it was so amazing out there to be able to go with Richard. And there was a scene in the tent which was one of my favorite scenes in the episode. Is when you talked about your injury and the having to end your career in that way, and sitting out there in that space, and the revelation for me was the healing power of our planet, right? Like we can kind of lose track of it in cities. Right? It's like being out in like the planet's alive, right? And it will take your pain and purge your difficulties, like being in touch with nature. And I remember, Richard had a real moment. He took a long pause on camera. He was like, man, am I about to tell Will my business? And he told me his business, and it was such a wonderful way to start the series and realize our oneness, and as far apart, we grew up in totally different places and all of that, but out there in the middle of the polar plateau, and to be able to connect in that way, it just got very clear to me what I want to do with this next phase of my life. It's like, it is about people. That is it. Like, figuring out how to, like, you know, care for each other and experience the wonder and awe of this place together. And, you know, we went out there and just saw each other's humanity and, like, became friends and, you know, fellow travelers in this grand, terrifying mystery. You know, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, Richard. Go ahead. Yeah.
Not at all, not at all. I mean, that, for me, that's one of the themes that comes through the entire series, the kind of therapeutic kind of role that nature can play. And this word connectivity and connection kind of comes up all the time, the connection between the scientists and the guides and the indigenous communities that you immerse yourself in, and how their connection with nature is healing in some way. But you touched on it then. Something I found like really inspirational about you as a person. I mean, your curiosity is infectious, right? You know, but it was your courage to be vulnerable. And I know you kind of mentioned that there was a strategy behind not knowing, and I see how that was valuable. But actually, that takes a huge amount of courage to be vulnerable and to be vulnerable, you know, on camera. And I think so many times when we step outside of our comfort zone, be that emotionally, physically, geographically, you know, fear is inevitable, but that's where the growth happens, right? So without being reductive, like what were the scariest moments for you? What were the big moments? I know we tonight have seen the ice climb, which was a big moment, but throughout the series, you know, you milk a tarantula, I mean, that's the one episode I couldn't watch.
That's the next episode. Yeah, see, we go down in a cave in an Amazon and we milk a tarantula. It's about, you know, that size, and you know, he wasn't excited about being milked. You know, and you know, it was for science. It was for science, but I could tell he didn't appreciate getting milked. Yeah, but it was that was a scary one. Being that far down in a cave. That's episode 2. You guys got to binge watch it tonight. There's some great stuff in there. Episode 7, the final episode, was the sketchiest. And it's pole to pole, so there was the South Pole, and then we went to the North Pole. And the ship we're on is an icebreaker, right? So it goes, and you know, it sounds like, oh, that's right. No, at the beginning of this episode, you saw the ship going through the ice, right? Mm-hmm. But what it does, and it just seems like they should have a better way to do it than this. So the ship, like the front of the ship is just reinforced, and it's like a knife. And they crash the ship into the ice, and the ship goes up, and then when it falls, it breaks the ice. For 7 days. I was like, if somebody don't tell the captain to stop crashing it, go around, find some holes in the ice. For 7 days. All day for 7 days. And then, right, so you do that, and you know, so you don't speak to the captain for the rest of the trip. And then you get there, and because there's no land, the North Pole's not land, it's ice, and it's about, you know, 10 meters thick of ice. See, when you're a scientist, you use the metric system. Just saying, y'all don't know what that is, you know? Sometimes Americans don't know what that is, you know? But us scientists, we know what 10 meters is. So, you know, it breaks the ice. So then they stop the ship, You stay on the ship for 24 hours and the ice freezes back, and then they let you get out and walk on the frozen ocean. Right? So we got out, we went, you walk across the ocean, you have to be careful for the open patches because you could die. And you go out and you move around, and we went and we did a scuba dive under the North Pole. And so they go out and they chop and they make a little hole. You get all the gear and you get your cold weather suit, and it's different than regular scuba gear because you can't get wet. Like the water is so cold, if it gets on your skin, like rapaz noches. So we went out, got my dry suit, all of that, and you only have 15 minutes because when you go under, if you stay too long, the gear can lock up, right? So you got to go in, it's 15 minutes, and out. So and it was Allie was the scientist we did, so she went, so we go, we dive, and we go under, and you go, we probably went 20 yards, and now there's ice above. So you're scuba diving, but under the ice, and it looks like an upside down ice mountain range. There's like, the ice is coming down and the sun is coming through, and it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. So we go under, you have a tether on, and because with the tether, so if you go under and you can't find where you are, you got to pull yourself back to the hole in the ice. So we go under, we're looking, and we were under too long. And what happens is when you're under too long, it pops and it just starts spraying the oxygen, and you have like 2 to 3 minutes to get out. Right, so it just starts spraying all of the oxygen. So, her gear went into free flow. So we're down there, and she just goes away, and I'm like, oh no. And I'm hearing, abort dive. And I'm like, oh no, okay. I'm like, Will, right, we need all our Philly right now. We need all our Philly right now. Settle down. Abort dive. I said, I heard y'all. So I go to I'm looking for my tether, and I grab my tether, and I pull, and my hand got caught in my mask, and I pull my mask off for a second underwater. And I'm under, but it's ice, right? So I'm under the ice, and I'm like, oh no. So I'm under, so pull back, and when I get out of there, I knew I was never doing that again. I knew Pole to Pole was over. That day. But when you go to ascend and hit ice, that's full horror movie. It's full horror movie, right? And but it's like, it's one of the most beautiful sights, and I hope you see the episode, because it is stunning under the ice in that way. You just see like the majesty of this planet, and the concept that my grandmother would say it to me all the time, that God placed the best things in life on the other side of fear. And I so understand that idea, like just being able to like take the shot is so critical to be able to enjoy this place.
It's hard for me to pick, but actually episode 7 is probably my favorite. And actually, it's for the reason, the story that you've just shared, because I don't want to give too much away, but the actual scientific endeavor was compromised.
Yeah.
And Ali, the amazing scientist that was your guide in episode 7, took it really hard because it was kind of the culmination of her life's work. And the reason why that I think is so beautiful is because, like, it's real.
Yes, yes.
In these environments, certainty kind of goes out the window. Mother Nature controls your every decision. Teamwork is not just critical for performance, it's critical for survival, right? And you two were a beautiful team under the ice. But I love just the purity of that. And every episode, and you were so real in that. Like, how important was it to you that you created the opportunity for the science to be told in the way that it was?
That particular episode, spoiler alert.
I feel like we
yeah, exactly. It went wrong. And it was Ali, the scientist, it was her life's work, and it was a moment where it was such a wake-up call for me. I was having fun. I was the movie star that was tagging along.
Were you really having fun?
I was, when we got back on the ship, I was having a ball. But, and I really tapped into, scientists and explorers that dedicate their lives to trying to find things that elevate humanity, and the pain that I saw with her, it surprised me. And, we subsequently had the conversation, and then I just had the next level of respect and understanding. Hator from this episode, is from Brazil. There's no way he has fun out there being from,
Just a lot of booze.
Yeah, yeah. But what he was talking about is how, we didn't use it in the episode, but he was saying how, Rio being a coastal city, if Western Antarctica were to the worst case scenario of global warming, that his home would be gone, right? So if that were to occur and the sea level were to rise, his family, his town, his home was one of the first places that would be gone. And his devotion to finding the answers and being a part of why we would be able to prevent it. That devotion, that scientific devotion, was really, really heartwarming for me.
Thank you. On a personal note, it was such a privilege to be part of this project, and I think one of the power of the project is you and your courage to be vulnerable and your courage to allow others to tell their story. But so often, so many of us don't see ourselves in these places, right? And so often the science can be so overwhelming and so complex that when a show is entertaining and as funny and as human as Pole to Pole also lands some big messages and some really important messages. How do you see your role in that?
I have always been devoted to doing my part as a member of the human family. I want to contribute positively. For me, making movies and making art is my gift. And, you know, probably up to this point, pursuit of happiness is like the high point of my career, you know. I feel like, you know, pursuit of happiness is like the one where everything came together, and who I want to be in this world and how it touched hearts, and people walk up to me on the street and say, hey, you know, when I saw that movie, you know, I was going through something very similar and it helped me, you know, get through that, so thank you. And now I feel that with Pole to Pole, you know. It came out, and the day it came out, Kerry Washington, she called, she said, well, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm sitting with my kids watching Pole to Pole. You have to talk to them right now. And they just like had all of these questions, and it just made me teary that kids that young had their minds blown about the earth and science and the inspiration that came from what we created. And to me, like that is the highest way to be on this planet for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And do you know what? A really beautiful moment to me that isn't in any of the shows, that isn't on social media, was after the premiere in London, we had a production party. And there's over 500 like production team working over 5 to 6 years of the project. You know, I was involved in the project for 5 years, 4.5 years. Like it was just a mega project. And after the crew had watched the show, much like tonight, you surprised us. Nobody knew that you were coming. You kind of came out side stage, and the production team, some of the team were in tears. Like it meant so much to them that you showed up for them. You didn't have to, you know, but it also was really clear that it meant something to you. Like that you showed up, that you said thanks to them. Like was that real? As in,
yeah.
No.
Nah, man, I was just BSing. I was coming out, you know, pretend like I was grateful for their hard work, you know. Show really successful because of me, you know, so. Was it real? No, that's very funny. That's very funny. No, it's like what happens with these things. You know, as Richard was saying, it was like, you know, 4 or 5 years of work, right? So, you know, people are missing dinner with their families, and you know, there's a lot of sacrifice to make a show like this. And the sacrifice is because everyone believes that we're going to put something in the world of value. You know, I always call it the Christmas test, right? When I choose a project, it's like it has to pass the Christmas test, right? So you work, and then you go and you're with your family on Christmas, and they say, hey, Uncle John, what'd you work on? Are you proud to say it, or do you have to talk around it? Right? So for me, it's like when I'm choosing, it has to pass the Christmas test. And Pole to Pole passes the Christmas test. You can actually sit down with your family and you can watch it and spark conversation and all of that. So for me, I wanted to thank all of those people. And when they got to the end of it, I just felt confident that in their hearts and minds also, it passed the Christmas test.
Absolutely. I could stay and talk to you all night. I know we could listen to you all night. Final question. Throughout the series, you talk of your mentor and late friend, Dr. Alan Counter. He says that the answers to all of kind of life's questions are found at the edges. I'm very sorry for your loss. He's no longer with us. But what would you say to him now?
Oh wow, that's interesting. He invited me 10 times to do things. You know, he discovered a hidden tribe in the Amazon and helped he saw that the children's teeth had black on the edges, and he knew that was mercury poisoning, and he discovered that a company was dumping batteries, and like he was that guy. And he constantly, you know, Will, just come. I promise you, you know, you're gonna see things, you're gonna learn. And I guess I would say thank you. I would say thank you to him, you know, because I got to a point in my life where I had, you know, reached the pinnacle of the art form, and I stumbled a little bit, as you look at, you know, I stumbled a little bit. But I didn't trip and fall, I just stumbled, but what he had said rang in my head, and I knew like that it was time to like find that next thing, to like explore and meet people and just find my footing for the next phase of my life. And I would tell him thank you. Pole to Pole is second to Pursuit of Happiness, but it's like it is the greatest, the greatest artistic and emotional achievement for me of my career. Wait, we have to stop. Does anybody else? Does somebody have something? Anybody have a question?
I want to know how, given you're used to the cities and everything else, right? You get there and it's just silence.
Yes.
How did you adjust to the silence, and how often do the scientists get to come back home?
Just, you want to go?
Yeah, so Heitor and the Brazilian scientists, they operate in the Antarctic summer, which is approximately October to February. So they're on the continent, on location for 3 to 4 months a year, every year. And as you saw, they operate out of that porta cabin, and they have 2 tents, an accommodation tent, sleeping tent. They all sleep together, and then a dining tent, a food tent, where you saw Will and I share some time with them.
They sleep in the same room. They don't.
Yeah.
They sleep together. Yeah, no. I guess we don't know. It is pretty quiet and lonely out there. Sorry.
I'll let you answer the
It's the next level of silence. Like there's no noise, right? There's no birds. There's no. Another fun fact. It's ice, so there's no land. It's not land. It's ice. So
that's up north in the North Pole.
Huh?
In the North Pole.
Well, the South, like there's no. I was saying there's no plumbing at the South Pole.
So no plumbing.
There's no plumbing. They don't put anything into the ice, right? So all of like when you go to the bathroom, you carry it with you. You have 2 different containers. One for number 1. Am I lying?
No, you're not. No.
I'm not right. And you said you're not lying. You shouldn't be saying it, but you're not lying. It's the truth. So true. But like for number 1 and number 2, you carry it, and they fly it off of the continent and dispose of it. You go in the bathroom, and there's 1 toilet for number 1 and 1 for number 2, and you have to go back and forth. I don't know how they think that you could do that. I was like, y'all have to take what you get, right? which is supposed to number one and then number two, and they separate it, and they have a poop plane. There's a poop plane that comes and takes it, and they fly it off of the continent. That's the truth, right?
That is the truth. I'm
All right. I'm just saying.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm going to protect Will from himself.
I'm never going to be invited back. I had one job at Table, but ladies and gentlemen, the host and executive producer of Pole